All right, let's build a Toph pre-release. We're going to dig into the seeded packs that we have. Um, like I said, we're building Toph. I have a feeling this is going to be built around earthbending, if I had to take a guess. These are pretty cool little pop-out tokens and stuff like that for markers, +1/+1 counters. You probably use those a lot in the pre-release event. So pretty cool. I am the greatest earthbender in the world. Nice little charm for her. So let's see what we get inside of this kit. There should be 5 play boosters to build the additional cards you need around the seeded pack that we have here. So it's going to be Obsessive Pursuit on the top here. We have a little rule book. Bada boom, bada bang. Tell you how to build. Honestly, this is a pretty good rubric. So if you're new to the pre-release era, this will get you close enough, right? Following this number of creatures, spells, lands. It's a good little strategy. Insert, and then we get a spin down die. This is not a D20 spin down die. They are very different. This one spins down in life total, where a D20 is randomized. That is the difference for those that may not be accustomed to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the seeded pack first here, just to see what we're working with for the Toph box. So we have Obsessive Pursuit, and when I'm opening packs, I should preface with this. I like to split them up into their color identity. So for black goes there. Green goes there. Here's Toph, enters Earthbend 2. When I'm going through this, 9 times out of 10, I don't read the cards until the very end. Multicolored down, just because the reason that I do this is so that you don't interrupt yourself. And you have enough time to fully build the deck, and splitting it up into piles first gets a lot of the clutter out of the way. Think clearly about the colors you have and look at the stacks that you got.
But before we go any further, I want to say a quick thank you to Superscripts Comics and Games for allowing me to open these boxes for their store stock. And if you see anything that you like inside of these boxes that we are opening, be sure to head down to the description, go over to their TCG store, and pick them up from there. But be warned, they won't ship until official release. With that, let's get back to the boxes.
So yeah, we're just gonna finish doing what we started. Not reading cards, putting them in piles. And building on from there. And hoping to hit some. I mean, that's just lucky, honestly. That's insane. To pull that inside of this. And this is not guaranteed to hit every single time. I want to preface with this. Hitting Toph inside of the box, you will not hit this Toph. This is not one of the seeded packs. This is a booster. That'll go down there. That's cool. Black, land, token. I was very lucky. That was very lucky. That's going to make this deck building experience great, I do believe. Rhino, bam, multicolored, artifact, slide everything down. Multicolored, red, blue, green, redirect lightning, whites, boom, boom. So just off the bat, and I'm going to talk about this while I sort out the cards. When I go to the next step, I like to start with the biggest pile, right? And in the moment, due to the seeded pack, the biggest pile is going to be green. So we'll look at green, see if there's, multiples of cards wall bussing. Say that's a pretty good card. Multiple colors and stuff like that we can take advantage of. Because copies of duplicates inside of limited is very powerful. It makes your deck far more consistent comparatively to other people. And that's probably another reason why the seeded packs, will point you in that direction, because they're guiding the deck and taking up a large chunk of it. That's not to say that you can build against the deck. We got Secret Tunnel, which is a pretty good rare. You can build against what is... Ooh, that's really good, actually. A rare and a shiny mythic. like I was saying, you can't build against the deck. So if you don't want to build Toph and you don't feel like it's the best deck that you opened out of all of the packs, you can go in a different direction. I do like the fact that it's a stack of monocolored, because now it's not forcing you into like a specific Gruul pattern. You have green, and you can pair green with any other color. I think that is a more beneficial way to do the seeded pack, in all honesty. So we'll finish up this here. That's cool. Dolly Agents, like the full art. That's weird. Okay. We got the war, the Wall of Ba Sing Se, and the Fire Nation drill, all in one box. Look at that. That's thematic right there. That's peak design. So yeah, like I said, we're going to start with green. We're going to find duplicates and build out from there. Since we have additionals from the other packs, I'm wondering what we shall see. Okay, so this right here is everything in the pack. We're starting with Pillar Launch. We have Wall Top Sentries, duplicates. Rahi Rebuke, Seismic Sense. What it does look like is they give you one of each card, which is actually kind of nice, because you're not like off the rip getting duplicates of a really good card. But I will say this, there isn't very many duplicates at the end of it, which is kind of weird. Normally we would see at least a couple more, especially with this big of a pile. Unless I'm missing something. No? All right, then. We have two duplicates, which is going to be the Wall-Top Sentries and the Rebellious Captives with an Exhaust ability and a Reach and Death Touch. That is good to have. This will bring back some lessons. So if we put some lessons in the deck, we can pull it off, and then an Exhaust ability to boost this creature, and then Earthbend 2, so we can get some power out of it. Other than that, I think the strategy is going to be getting some Earthbending and some good cards. I mean, off the start, just thinking about Earthbending, we hit Secret Tunnel, right? So we can animate this land, and it can't be blocked, so you're swinging it for value. Not only that, since it's Earthbend, it's going to go away and come back, so you can just keep bringing back this unblockable land. This is a really big card inside of this deck. Now, the next question is, what do we pair these Earthbending cards with? And that's when I would go to the next biggest pile and go from there, because we didn't get too many, and we know this deck is seated around, or this pile is seated around Earthbending. I don't think we need to dive too much deeper into that than we already have. Aang's Journey might be pretty helpful, just looking at that as well. Is there any multicolored creatures that might point us in a direction? So we have Dali Agents, which has Earthbending on it. We have another Golgari. We have Toph, which is also a pretty big one. We have Earth Ruffians, which is more. And we have this Earth Kingdom Soldier. Now, the disadvantages in the situation that we're currently in is that we have, these two cards here. This will offer consistency. When this creature dies, Earthbend 2. Dali Agents is Golgari, which kind of pushes against. This is going to be kind of a counter strategy, I think. I think we can run these two together because of the mana pips on it, but I don't know if Dali Agents will fit into what we're trying to do with Earthbending. So this will be a maybe. I'll set that aside, but I definitely think this combination with green, white, and red is a really good pushing point. So I think I'm going to focus on those and set black and blue to the side, just because Toph is a really powerful card. I don't think we'll be able to take too much advantage of the first ability of non-token artifacts are lands in addition to their other types, but I think at the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2 is going to be pretty beneficial in Limited. So let's go into White and see what we can pull. Gather the Lotus, Troop, Legend of Yachen. I believe this is going to be an airbending card. Yeah. Cast your second spell up to airbend up to 1 target non-land permanent. It's a 4/5. Starting with you, each player chooses up to 1 permanent with mana value 3 or greater from among permanents your opponents control. Exile those permanents. You may have target opponent draw 3 cards. If you do, draw 3 cards. In Limited, I don't know if I would run this. I think this is kind of against the grain what we're trying to do with the Earthbending. So that's a maybe for now. This looks like most of the allies. A 1 mana 1/1 sacrifices creature, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. That's pretty good. And when it dies, you gain 3 life. So that's a pretty beneficial card that we can set to the side there. Enter Scry, flying. Never discount flying in Limited. Flying is very good. +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever this creature attacks, choose target creature and opponent controls, tap it, then you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, put a stun counter on the chosen creature. This, you could see the synergy potential with that, because if you sacrifice a land, you can Earthbend it again. So you have another target, and it doesn't really put you back too much, but it does, in fact, put your opponent back. But I don't know if the deck strategy that we're going to be building around will support that. But these deserters have +1/+1 counters they can put on, and there's 2 of them, which will be pretty useful to keeping things consistent. So now we're going to go to red, see if there's anything duplicates or useful to Earthbending, because at this point, I think we're fairly committed to Earthbending. Create 2 red soldier creature tokens with Firebending. Fire Nation Raiders. Create a clue token. Raw and Shaw. I believe we have 2 of those. Okay, so we have 2 of these rares as well. So that might be good. Enters, if you cast them and there are 3 or more Dragon Order lessons in your graveyard, create a token as a copy of Raw and Shaw. It's a 5 mana 4/4 flying Earthbending 2. So maybe, I think if we're going Firebending, that'd be far more worthwhile. But for Earthbending, I don't know if it fits in the deck. I'm gonna be honest. Twin Blades. When this creature enters attached to target creature, that creature gains double strike until end of turn. That might be a nice little combat trick that we have to think about. A Firebending Lesson. 1 mana instant lesson. 2 damage. Removal. Always good. Keep track of that. You may discard a card if you need to draw a card. Redirect Lightning. That's going to be a definite in this deck, even though it's not Earthbending, but being able to change the target of a spell or ability for 1 mana or pay 5 life or 2 additional mana is pretty good. Iroh's Demonstration, that is going to be each creature you control or 4 damage to target creature, some more removal. Red's going to house most of our removal, it looks like, for this deck. Exhaust, 2 counters, Firebending 2, 5 mana. Firebending Ascension. When this enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with Firebending 1. Whenever a creature you control causes a trigger ability of a creature to trigger, put a quest counter on this, and there's 4 more, you can double it. I don't think that'll be too great for this deck. We have a Shrine, Crescent Island. For each shrine, create a 1/1 red monk with prowess. Whenever another shrine enters, create that prowess. And then Boomy Bash. Deal damage equal to the number of lands you control to target creature, destroy target land, or non-basic land. Boom. So we have 4 removal spells right there. This is out because it's mono black. Wallabon Sing Say, that's a really expensive, but if you can pull that off unlimited, that's really good. That could be like our top end, maybe, if we have space. So that's I'd say that's a maybe. Aang's Journey for our colorless. 2 mana, search your library for basic land. If the spell is kicked, instead search your library for a basic land and a shrine card. reveal those cards, put them into your hand, and then shuffle. Gain 2 life. 2 mana, grab a basic is good because this will give us fixing, especially if we're running 3 colors because of Toph. So that will be a good addition to this non-creature pile that we're doing. So we're looking for that 5 to 8 spells right here, right now. And we're up to 5, so we're at our minimum of other spells. We can go up or down from here, but that's just going to affect the number of creatures we run. Kyoshi's Battle Fan. When this equipment enters, create a 1/1 ally and equip it to it. I don't think this will be super effective for us. Well, yeah, Toph can activate it. I think this is more of a wasted slot inside of this deck. So, with the minimum set for our non-creature lands, I think we go and figure out what kind of creatures we do have access to that'll be fairly repetitive and consistent. So to start off, let's grab our duplicates. So we have Deserters, Ruffians, and let's see. Captives. I'm not too convinced about those, but they are a 2 mana 2/2. So regardless, if you do get to end game, you can put the exhaust counters on it and Earthbend. It'll be worthwhile. 3 mana dies lesson card to the hand. We do have 3 lessons in this pile over here, so we can pull those back. Of those, all 3 of them are... Oh, actually, no, there is no mana value on it. Gain 2 life, and you put a lesson card to your hand, so we can grab Redirect Lightning, Iroh, or Firebending lesson, which is good. Oh, and Aang's Journey. So 4 of our 5 non-creature cards can be returned with wall top sentries, which is fairly good. We want to be able to reuse stuff. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature. So that's another removal. So we'll go up to 6. I think it's a very solid number there. And from there, I think we just need to set up our earth-bending creatures. So we will definitely be running this Toph Haru in the deck. So that'll take us up to 2, 4, 6, 9 creatures. How many allies are we running? And do we want to make allies tappable for lands? The other upside to this guy is just the fact that lands can tap for any color, especially in going for 3 mana. So I think he's an auto-include just for fixing. So that'll take us up to 10. We have space for 5 to 8 more creatures. Actually, no, 5 to 7 more creatures because we have 6 over here. Shrine, search your library for X basic lands where X is the number of shrines you control. Put those cards. When another shrine, search your library for a basic land. Put it on the battlefield tapped. So this can just rush out some lands. This is a mana dork. This is another Earthbender, so that'll go inside the deck. We're hitting... Honestly, this spread feels kind of good. We'll sort it out here in a minute, but the spread feels kind of good. Seismic Sense. Look at top X cards where X is the number of lanes you control. You may reveal a creature or land card among them and put it to your hand. So this will just rush out some cards. That's probably useful. I feel like that would be a good 7 to add. On top of that, would a land search be good?
They say it's roughly 4 times stronger than the Steam Deck.
Badger Mole.
2 SKUs with different lands.
Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them onto the battlefield tapped. So with this, if you earthbend something, then sack that land and you can bring it back, you're not going to be down a land. So there's some added benefits there. So for 3 mana, you can hit 3 lands and really push yourself ahead. 3 lands, quote unquote. We're going to put those in quotes. So I think that is probably a fair addition because it allows us to grab lands for fixing. And we have 8 non-creature cards now, which means we're going to be running lower on creature count. However, a lot of our creatures make more creatures with our lands. So that is an added benefit. And we definitely want to be running 17 lands in this deck. I wouldn't short this deck because we want a surplus of lands that we can hit. That way we're not running out of spells, right? We want to be able to cast things consistently. Honestly, if there's other creatures or other ways to search, I probably would add them in as well. Or creatures to search for lands. Like this is kind of tempting Sabertooth at the top, but we'll see what we're at in terms of creature count here first. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're at 12 creatures. Let's see what our spread looks like. Let's organize this up a little bit, shall we? That's that stack. That's that stack. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so this is our non-creature cards. Those were here. Let's now sort these cards into their mana costs. So that's 2 mana. That's 3. This is 3. Let's go 2 mana, 2 mana, 4 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana. So we're pretty heavy in this 3 mana section right here. So I kind of want to stay away from adding anything else that's 3 mana unless it directly benefits us substantially. I would love to add more in the lower end if possible. Like a 1 mana card would be nice to add, but I don't think we have additional 1 mana cards that really fit our synergies right now. That's 3 mana, 4 mana. Guess we could just add these 2 just for future proofing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. At this point, I feel fairly comfortable adding a top end big guy or search. So this moose is probably going to be our top end here. That way we can either play that out later in the game for a 7/7 to do some serious damage on the board, or force cycle it and grab another land and have access to it, because that'll be nice. This could also be an argument just for, ramping up our creatures for like an ending effect. But I think this card would come in from the sideboard. I wouldn't put this main deck, but this is something to keep in mind when you're facing off against your opponent. So you're facing another Earthbending deck or another go wide like Allies or something like that. Having this +2/+2 and then swing effect to come in on board to push your Earthbending creatures a little bit more. 100%, keep that in mind. And definitely a sideboard card, because when you're playing best of 3, having good sideboard strategy is definitely part of this, and we'll talk about sideboard strategy at the end a little bit more. But for now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's it. That's the deck. This feels like a very solid Earthbending deck. We have very high number of lower costing creatures, and a lot of them are really consistent, and they follow the strategies. Deserters will get a +1/+1 counters. Haru will Earthbend. These captives have the potential of coming in early and just being a creature on board, or exhausting and Earthbending 2 and pumping themselves up. So this is both a good late game and a mid game and a early game strategy. Ruffians, consistency, and they allow you to Earthbend when it dies, so you maintain your creature count. Walltop Sentries brings lessons back that we're using from the graveyard. Toph Earthbends, its power is equal to the number of +1/+1 counters you control, so it's going to be a big swinging creature inside this deck. Earth Kingdom General, more Earthbending. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature, you gain that much life, so this will be a nice resilience strategy. Toph will be more Earthbending since we're not really accessing the, artifacts portion of this, but the at the beginning of your hand instead of Earthbend 2 is going to be very good. Badgermole, more earthbending. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters have trample, so it'd be a nice finishing effect. And then Sabretooth is going to be the high-end bomb, plus, going for another forest, so we can put that onto the battlefield and not run out of mana. So that brings us to the question of what kind of lands are we running? So one of the 17 lands we will be running is Secret Tunnel. That 100% goes inside of this deck. And then I guess Kyoshi Village is the only other fixing land we can run, unfortunately. And from there, you just gotta split out into your colors, right? So the sad part of this, we do have a lot of red over here, actually. I take that back. So we have a good amount of red. We're primarily in green. So I would push your, portions of green higher to the green side. Or if you're really not too worried about it, just split it evenly. So you have 15 lands that aren't a part of this. You can go 5 green, 5 red, 5 whites. If you're not too concerned about it, that way it's a theoretical even disposition across your deck. You could also do your pip count. You can count the number of pips for each color and then divide that out and ratio it out that way. I understand the math behind that one. I'm not a huge fan of doing it that way. I like just an even, distribution and hope, this works out. Because if you have your distribution being, 3 white pips, and you put that, in proportion, and you can't find that white card to cast this, Toph, the first metal bender, it feels kind of bad. But I can also see the counterpoint of, not being able to get everything else out because so many pips. There's definitely math behind it, and there's other people that will talk far more than I will about that. But I think I would just do 5, 5, and 5, personally. That'll take us up to 17 lands, shuffle up, and play. Which then takes us to sideboard strategy and how we would attack other opponents. So like I said, allies, I would definitely keep this in mind. Invasion tactics, to bring that in to run over creatures, especially if you have trample on board. Being able to do that with this is a good effect, plus drawing cards is never frowned upon. Another good creature to keep in mind is this 1 mana 1/1 that you can sacrifice to destroy a target artifact or enchantment. So if you're seeing your opponents running a lot of enchantments or artifacts that are really having a serious effect on the play, you can bring in some more removal for it. If you're seeing a lot of interaction, your opponent's, burning out your cards with a lot of removal, or they're running over your creatures and you want to be able to block, Pillar Launch will be a nice little combat strategy that you can implement to buff up your creatures, untap it, and block, to push them back, like facing with the earthbending strategy. Pillar Launch would be a good mirror match ability. Ostrich, I wouldn't consider. Kyoshi Shrines, not too much. If you're hurting for planes and you're noticing that you need more planes, you could swap this out here. You could make this argument that this should be main board to go find that island, since we have so many ways to get green. You could put this in your 5 mana slot here and be a 3/5 and cycle for planes. Or you just have the big creature. That's going to be a personal preference. I think I would pick the big creature, personally, just because the 7/7 is pretty threatening. However, I will say this 3/5 gains life and has flying until end of turn. So a 3/5 flyer is also pretty threatening. And it's more likely to be cast since it's slightly cheaper. But again, your personal preference. You can swap these two if you're hurting for, planes. Is there anything else that we discussed that I would put in if you really want to push it? You could go for permanents you have are indestructible and just go really aggressive. 8 mana, though, is a possibility. I won't say that you won't make it. There are definitely limited games that have made it to 8 mana. And for the memes, I would consider it. Just, tacking that on over here, maybe, or dropping something somewhere else that maybe we don't need. But in terms of for, the general limited population. I think I would leave that as a, hey, you know, they're really pushing my buttons. Swap this in. You can make this swap here too. You know, give your things indestructible. That way your land creatures have a little bit more oomph and protection when it comes to being destroyed and stuff like that. From there, we're not running any blue. We're also not running any black, so I wouldn't consider those. In terms of, you know, mono red, we're not doing anything with firebending or activated abilities, so I wouldn't think too much about these. You could make an argument for adding some, or this rhino, not rhino cavalry. Hold on, this guy. The archers, so you can discard a card and draw a card, because card draw is never an argument. So if you're finding your hand is lacking, you can make this swap in for one of your single creatures, or you can make the divide. The Great Divide would be a potential swap, just so you can get that card draw. In terms of multicolored creatures, as long as there's a lesson, this creature can attack. You could make that swap in for a 2/3, mill 2, but I don't know why you want to mill in this deck. Creates an ally token. You could theoretically run this. Put 2+1/+1 counters on it, so you could take advantage of your, you know, multiple creatures and your earth bending. This could slot here. But honestly, I don't think I would make too many swaps. I think the primary goal here is just keeping in mind what kind of combat tricks you open for your sideboard, what you can implement and take advantage of your potential opponent's weaknesses. So getting that +2/+2, or removing something that's seemingly consistent inside of their deck and slowing them down, or just ultimate final push type cards. And if you're finding you have too much removal where they're trailing behind, you could swap 1 or 2 removals in for card advantage or other combat tricks to push the game even faster. A lot of this is just going to be dependent on how you're feeling inside of the combat trick zone for that. So ultimately, I feel like this is a very solid representation of Toph. We got very lucky to pull Toph the First Metalbender inside of this pre-release kit from the bonus, or not from the seeded pack, but just a regular play booster. So yeah, I think this is a very solid earthbending deck. And if you want to see more, be sure to hit the subscribe button as we do this for every single release. And on that note, I hope to see you guys in the next one.